Jason Nichols joining us now. He is a senior lecturer at the University of Maryland, College Park in the African American Studies Department. I want to get your reaction to this executive order from Joe Biden. What do you make of it?
Well, I think it is a good step in the right direction. It sets the tone. But I think a lot of this action needs to happen at the state and local level. A lot of this is going to be for federal law enforcement. But your average person on the street doesn't encounter federal law enforcement very often. Oftentimes, they encounter their city police force. And in order to make those changes, that needs to happen at the local level. The new executive order certainly calls for the creation of a national database on police misconduct and a revised use of force policies and restrict no-knock warrants like the warrant that led to the death of Breonna Taylor. And those are really important things. But I think that there is more that needs to be done. We need to end qualified immunity. We need to do many more things that can help people to get just policing where they live.
And Jason, you talked about local communities. A number of states have taken some actions since his death in an effort to reform police departments. Can you give us the lay of the land? What's the landscape look like? I mean, who's done it right? Where do you point to in terms of like, okay, they're moving in the right direction?
Well, I think there are lots of places that have done it pretty well. I can name a couple of places here in the state of Maryland where policing has improved in a lot of ways. Of course, we saw massive corruption in the city of Baltimore, and they have made some steps and some strides. They have a long way to go, but they've made some steps to reforming their police force. And we've seen LA also had serious problems for many generations, and they've made some changes as well. But the problem is that you can step one step outside of one jurisdiction and go to another one where the executive isn't as good and doesn't care as much about the rights of citizens. And so that's the thing that we need to change. We need this to be a national effort so that when I drive my car 1 mile in a different direction, I'm not going to be met with a different response from police. And so I think there are lots of changes that need to happen. And one of the things that we have in many places, like in the state of Maryland where I live, is the Law Enforcement Officers' Bill of Rights, which is incredibly dangerous, allows for police to have lots of time before they actually report use of force, and particularly when there's a deadly encounter. And it allows for them to get their story together rather than just collecting their story right away. And so I think there are a lot of problems that need to be addressed on a national level.
Jason, we got about 45 seconds, but I want to ask you, historian Elizabeth Hinton just won the RFK Book Award yesterday for America on Fire, The Untold History of Police Violence and Black Rebellion dating back to the 60s. In her book, she says the U.S. is caught up in this endless loop. Police brutality, repression leads to rebellion, which then leads to leaders insisting that they need more police officers, more law and order. She says the direction actually should be the money should be spent on trying to reduce poverty, help with education, more opportunities instead of spending the money on cops. I'm sure you agree. How do you break that cycle, though?
I mean, I think that most people understand that the best crime is the crime that doesn't happen. So we want to prevent crime. How do you prevent crime? By fixing some of the social problems. Police should be the backstop. They should be the last resort to stop crime. We want for our children to get good education, to have decent housing to live in, things that we think most Americans and most people around the world need. And if you address those issues, they will stop crime. And we've seen this on a micro level in lots of places. But for some reason, people think that just by having police officers around and making their job harder and burdening them more is going to create change, and it never does. And it absolutely puts us in an endless loop. So we've definitely got to change our approach.